Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third segment of Tech to Sustain Conversations for a Greener Tomorrow. The earlier segment, we spoke about how in the beverage industry, technology plays a key role in terms of driving the industry towards sustainability. This segment, we are going to talk about another very interesting segment, which is the hospitality and the entertainment segment. And we have with us Yalmis Siddiqui, who is the Vice President of Corporate Sustainability for MGM Resorts. And we will be talking about how, in this segment, the sustainability is kind of embraced. Almis, you come from again another different industry segment, hospitality and entertainment. Uh, each business have their own unique models around sustainability, and I'm quite sure in your case as well, there is that unique model around sustainability. The consumer facing business which are undertaking this kind of operational optimization, but not just for the cost part of it, right? But also the sustainability metrics in mind. What other changes has sustainability brought in the hospitality sector, especially in the resorts, and maybe some examples from your own organization? If you can share them, that would be of help.
Thank you, Santosh. First, I'll agree with you that different industry sectors have different material, most significant social or environmental issues. There's, in fact, important concept in sustainability that before you actually really start working, you should step back and think about the material issues for your sector
Correct.
and listen to stakeholders to help you prioritize. And I do also want to say that sustainability is both a social and environmental and economic concept, not just environmental. That's the history of the idea. This conversation seems to be primarily focused on the environmental dimension, and so I'll agree a second time that there is a significant focus on optimization in general, not just focus on costs as the primary driver, but it's often found that cost reduction is a benefit. Even when you're focused on environmental impact reduction, you can often find cost reduction as a secondary and very positive outcome. People try and separate, cost reduction and benefits associated with that and environmental, and they perceive environment as always higher costs. But it's simply not true. There are lots of aspects of sustainability, environmental and social, that result in both optimization operationally and economically. So let's go to your real question, which is what sort of changes has the mindset of sustainability brought to our company? And since we're talking primarily about environmental, I'll talk about a few shifts. So a shift, I think, from just procuring energy and paying for it and not really, thinking about it. It's just a accepted line item. And instead, there's been over multiple years a deep focus on what is our energy mix, where is energy being used. So using data to understand where energy is being used and where energy is being wasted, and then deep investments in energy conservation to, as I alluded, not only become more energy efficient but take costs out of the system. And the second big part on the energy front is a shift in the mix of energy. So from less renewables and less understanding of what is making up our energy mix to a very, very significant focus on decarbonizing our energy load. So MGM, for example, chose a number of years ago to, we're not in a competitive electricity market. We decided to pay a very significant fee, $89 million, to leave the local utility and start buying power on the wholesale market ourselves. And one example of a project is once we were able to buy energy on our own, we just announced we just opened a 100 megawatt solar array that's going to be about 90% of the daytime power use of all of our resorts in Las Vegas. That's about 70 million square feet. and then we made a commitment to 100% renewable electricity by 2030. So a real shift in how much energy we use, focus on that using data, and what energy we use to decarbonize. Second example is water. So a shift in just again accepting water is used and maybe implementing water efficient technologies and faucets into a significant use of data to again understand the flows. Where is water being used in our resorts? So lots more sub-metering, just deep understanding of water in and out, and using data to reduce waste. And then finally, to build on the point about circularity, major resorts like ours use a lot of different materials. We buy everything. Everything's flowing into our companies, and then some of it is wasted. So we are thinking a lot more with this mindset of sustainability about material flows in and wastes or diversion of wastes in terms of out. And we need and are seeking a lot more understanding of our supply chain. So the social environmental attributes of products that are coming in, the embodied emissions, whether it's water related or embodied carbon emissions, this deep need for supply chain data has arrived, and it's only going to get more significant in the years to come.
Talked about in terms of various devices and all those kind of things really help in terms of optimization in the energy consumption levels. And I think some of the things were also possible because the way people started looking into carbon pricing as well, isn't it, Yalmis? And the future risk from the carbon pricings and how you integrate as part of approval of your capital projects, all those things as well. Do you consider some of these carbon pricing when you kind of put up some of your capital projects?
I mean, we haven't actually got a formal carbon pricing model in the company at this stage, but what I will say is that the energy efficiency projects, even without carbon pricing consideration, are often very accretive, very positive economically. So carbon pricing adds another layer of approval likelihood, let's say, to capital projects.
Right. So on that note, maybe I should come to Vijay now. Vijay, I mean, the we have heard various facets and aspects from the consumer services leaders, how service providers like HCL can bring sustainability to the next level to the consumer services company. What, according to you, would be the crucial ways by which technology can become the core in many of those examples, what they said, the sustainability initiatives, and give that, what I can say, that unique, responsible customer experience. How can technology play that role over here?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that I completely echo with what has been said by my fellow colleagues here. I want to. It's a great question. I want to pick up from where CEO talked about, which defines the framework of sustainability, which is like the 5 Ps, which is I liked it. The product, packaging, pricing, place and promotion. So the question is in terms of how we can bring in technology in order to enable this 5 Ps for the organization to meet their sustainability goals. So what in HCL, and we have been seeing in the market today, various retailers and CPG companies have already doing a lot of work in this field. So I want to just pick a few framework which we have seen has helped a lot, in the marketplace. So one is, and this may not be new to all of you, just wanted to go over and reiterate some of the points and what's our thoughts and point of view on that. One is the smart manufacturing and digital twin for simulation. So it's a simulation based design validation, um, which eliminates the need of multiple material prototypes and wastage which happens, resulting in improved time to market. So this helps companies to launch their product faster. It helps companies to launch their product cheaper, and help them to be competitive in the market. Let me give you some examples. The French supermarket chain Intermarché, so they created a digital twin of a brick and mortar store based on data, where all the shelves which they had, which was IoT enabled, so they fetch data. What it helps is that now managers can easily manage the inventory and test the effectiveness of different store layouts. We have seen Unilever doing it. So what they have done is that they have created virtual models of its factories using IoT digital twin, and that simulate complex what if scenarios to identify the best operational conditions, which is helping them in order to use the materials more precisely and limit the waste. We have seen Boeing, achieving almost 40% of improvement rate in first time quality of parts, which is by using the same framework. So, and there is a study which is done by Boston Consulting, which talks about that if you use this framework, it reduces your expenditure by 10% and
Mhm.
also inventory by 5%, giving an EBITDA improvement of 1 to 3%. So it's a proven framework which we have seen used by multiple companies around us. Second is the smart leveling and using biodegradable packaging. And so Funny did talk about in terms of what they're trying to do on the wine and spirits. And similar to this, we have seen like Coke doing it. They came up, they debuted PET recyclable bottle in 2015. So, and we saw Pepsi joining the consortium, which is Pulpex consortium, which is joined by Diego and Unilever to create a world's first recyclable paper bottle, which is completely made from sustainably sourced pulp. So what they're doing is that, can we, I mean, like, by use of such solutions, the labels not only provide more information to the end consumer, but it also results in less of supplies to be used for packaging and labeling. So another thing what we are seeing is that they're using a technology, some of the companies, which called time temperature indicators. So smart, what it does is that it changes the color as current temperature deviates from the recommended storage temperature, in line
Mhm.
with the expected shelf life of the product. So these are the technology, like Hershey's has been using QR codes. So that is, I think, that is one of the framework which we have seen mostly used by the retailers and CPG companies. I want to talk about the third framework, which is product traceability. How we can bring in transparency and visibility to the end consumer of your product throughout the entire process. And if you are able to do that, you suddenly find more attachment, more association by the consumer to your products. And we have seen some of the companies, they're trying to bring that transparency and flexibility, visibility to the consumers. Nike, so Nike is bringing their independent factories and material supply information directly to the consumers through what they call as Nike manufacturing map. We saw Lynn doing it. So what they're doing is that they claim to have mastered the traceability for it cocoa beans, with
Yeah.
external verification. So what so cocoa beans are processed and transported separately from all other beans with a unique barcode identification. They can be tracked, traced, from the origin, from which farm it was picked up, and what percentage of money goes to the farmer there. So if you bring, like, it's picking up and shirt, and when you see that certain percentage, it's all listed from where this cotton was sourced and what percentage of amount was given to the farmer, suddenly you see more attachment with that brand. So can we bring in technology in order to solve such issues? So I think, those are the three frameworks which I talked about, which we are seeing that it is helping the retailers and CPG industries in order to meet their sustainability goals.
Oh, thank you, Vijay. And I think you know every we it's Friday evening now in India, and every second example goes to the beverages. So I get that, and but it was wonderful to hear those three frameworks. What you kind of talked about, and the whole sustainability scenario with the knowledge that the future customers are more of the millennials and the digital dwellers. It's definitely something to be taken account of. I mean, the future customers are there and they are going to look into this particular space, and all the three frames you talked about are going to be very critical for many of the companies in this sector going forward. So thanks for sharing that. And Yalmis, thank you for sharing your that's a unique sector as well, isn't it? I mean, the kind of things what are happening over there. Thanks for sharing that as well.